was in contact with Darrell on this.
So Darrell knew all about it, there's no big secret. I mean, I looked at the contract here and or the application that you got, there's several things that, you look at this and you gotta question it, but you know, they've got down that, does the borough use a CPA or auditors? And they put down, yeah, they use auditors. Or elected auditors, how it was. Well, they did use elected auditor in 2020. They used an appointed assistant auditor, so they didn't use it. So that's one of the things that were wrong. And then it's got here how some other things here. You go through the stuff that comes on here that came up. I went and looked at it, printed it off. So the one thing they had down on the thing there for the fire account, that didn't look like that was the right amount for the fire account. The 2000, and wanted to know if your audits were all done for 2020. They go, yeah, the 2021 is approved, 2020 audit is not approved. So that was a misreading. There's some other ones here. So yeah, that was the other thing it asked if you did any kind of audit or controller. No, you didn't do that. And several things were blank on it. There was nothing on that. And then I don't know where they come up with the one thing they had for let me go to the next page here. Bear with me. And then
May I ask one question?
yep.
Of Solicitor Boucher.
Yeah.
So, I understand the Secretary's ministerial position and that I operate at the pleasure of the council and that I need to follow the rules of the council. However, if I suspect that something is not correct or potentially fraudulent, should I still submit that application?
You should question it. You should question it to the president, the solicitor, somebody else. Bring it to somebody's attention.
Okay, so Darrell Haynes was the sponsoring council member for the motion in the application, and I mentioned to him multiple times that I needed certain documentation. He told me that documentation was not available, he couldn't get it, and to submit it with the prior year documentation.
Well, then you should have gone to the president.
I then sent an email to all the council members and the president explaining that I was uncomfortable with submitting this application. I got no direction from anyone in council on what I should do about that, and no question as to why I was uncomfortable.
Well, hopefully with DCED's help, the guy that was just here, is going to help the borough get back on the road track with a lot of things.
I 100% agree with that. I look forward to working with my new best friend, Jim Rose.
Turn over new things and start to going forward.
Yeah, anyway, there were several things on here, you know, like what was the specific needs for the county of this project? Well, you know, I think we, you know, had specific needs here in the town for the majority of the people. That town hall that's fallen in. We don't have no real estate for the borough. And there's a lot of other things that I think we should be looking to spend, you know, this type of grants for. Instead of just for roads. We've got a lot of people in the center of town, just not on these outside roads.
The town hall does need to be addressed, and there are we can get a grant to have it removed, to have it demolished. Now, the reason, Mr. Boucher, that I felt, and I did state that this should be brought up at a full council meeting, not a special meeting, full council meeting, full transparency. I'm very big on full transparency. That's the reason that's on the agenda now, so that Ray can say, and those that were conversant with this, say this is what was wrong, and bring it up at the council meeting and have all these things addressed at a full council meeting in front of everyone.
Okay.
That's how I operate. All right. The update on the Batesville Sunshine lawsuit versus Strucker Borough and individual council members, including the borough's response, financial ramifications, update of the lawsuit. redundant, court order and procedure to secure borough money spent on defending Carly Basil's lawsuit.
I had copies of the August 9th order, if anybody wants them, I'd like to have Ron go over it and explain it to everybody what the judge's decision was. There's copies, if anybody wants it.
Would you like me to do that, Madam Clerk?
Yeah, I think everyone has that on the council.
Okay.
Do we all have that, what, after the original lawsuit? But you were, this,
This is the judge's order.
right, the judge's order, we have, yeah, all the
August
council
9th.
members have seen that and are conversant with it. Does anyone need it read aloud?
I think we need to have the solicitor, as long as he's here, to go through it and explain it to everybody.
I'll be happy to. Plaintiff brought a case with 4 counts against Strucker Borough, as well as 4 individual council members. The 4 counts related to 2 counts sunshine law, a couple counts borough code, a couple counts federal laws, alleged violations. Our office filed preliminary objections to the complaint, saying that the complaint didn't pass muster on the different counts, that there wasn't sufficient allegations in the complaint that would even justify a case going forward, and further, that the plaintiff had no right to sue the individual borough council members because it's not provided for in any of the statutes they cited. The judge issued an order on our 3 preliminary objections and sustained every one of them. And when the judge says sustained, that means that the borough and the 4 individual council members win that point in the case, that the plaintiff was wrong. The plaintiff then asked the judge at the argument, could I please amend the complaint? The judge allowed amendment, which says further orders, plaintiff can file amended complaint within 20 days from the date of the order. And the step order is dated August 29th. On the 20th day, I got a copy of an amended complaint that was filed by the plaintiff, alleging now 3 counts, not 4 counts, but 3 counts. 2 counts sunshine law, 1 count intimidation. The 2 counts that are, actually all of them are against the individual defendants as well as the borough. I believe that the judge's order of August 9th was very clear that the 4 individual council members should have been dismissed as defendants in this action, and that the filing of an amended complaint, including them again, is clearly wrong and clearly should result in sanctions. Again, that's my opinion. I have asked every council member, as the president, to ask every council member to circulate a copy of the amended complaint. I believe there's 90-some paragraphs in there which outline alleged factual allegations. I'm asking that the council members, and probably Mr. Heeman might be helpful too, if the mayor could help on this too, go through that and give me your responses to each and every averment in that complaint to see if what the plaintiff is saying is true or not, and provide that to me. That will help me formulate a response to the complaint and also go forth with objections, preliminary objections, which are going to be filed on this one anyway, and it's going to address the issue of the multiple filings against the individual council members. The sunshine law provides that if the case is dismissed for lack of merit, which is essentially what happened here on the first order, that the successful party can seek counsel fees. And that could be in whole or in part. Had the case ended here, I was going to ask today that the council direct me to pursue counsel fees because the case was over. But since the amended complaint's been filed, I think we should wait and see what happens in the next round of preliminary objections. I'm going to ask that the judge dismiss certain counts and individuals with prejudice going forward. I believe that the amended complaint is weaker than the original complaint, and we intend to file the appropriate objections. But some of the averments in that complaint, I can't tell if they're actually right or wrong factually. And that's why I need the assistance of all the council members. So, Madam President, I think I've sent you a copy of the amended complaint. I know you sent me an email saying you weren't quite sure or understood what I meant by that.
Right, I was asking for myself, since I've only been here since January, what you wanted me to respond to from
And
2021.
well, you may not know anything about
Right.
2021, in
Yeah.
which case you wouldn't really give me a response.
Right,
But Mr. Dalton certainly would, Mr. Heeman
right,
likely would,
right, and they are.
or individuals here likely would.
And this is part of
And I
it, so
would
it's.
respect and like to see their input on the allegations. So if I can get that, you can circulate to them, and I can get that as soon as possible. I likely will prepare the appropriate objections. I will file them with the court, and there'll be likely another argument on those preliminary objections before the judge hearing.
No, those that were, Mr. Heeman, you were here in 2021, do you have anything you wish to?
Oh, yeah,
Now, let me say this before people speak. Strategy, tactics, details should not be discussed in open session. This is litigation. If you want to discuss things, you need to call an executive session.
Right, but you had asked for his.
I just want his input. He can write it up and send it to me. As
Oh,
he
you
can write
wanted,
it up
oh,
to me.
mail, you wanted directly to you.
Yeah, directly
Okay.
send it to me, if you
Okay.
get, please. If you have any questions, anyone has any questions, you can feel free to contact me, and I'll help clarify things or whatever else. But you probably know, or at least have an opinion on what you feel you know about certain allegations in that complaint, and your opinions will be very valuable. Okay?
Put it in the form of a letter, keep a copy, and same way with Jack.
Well, the majority of the stuff that she had in there, she had exhibits that showed what happened, so I mean, it's sort of self-explanatory the way I look at it.
I don't think it is, Jack, and I think if you read the averments, again, I'm not gonna get into details, but I know you're an intelligent guy, read the averments. She's made some specific averments about certain things that I think are clearly wrong, but since I wasn't there on some of these, I don't know. So please look at it and give.
I did, I went through it.
But if you
I went through it, and it's like,
Okay, now,
Well,
the insurance company will want that. Again, remember, working for the insurance company is picking up a good portion of the tab for the borough. And then there's a cooperation provision in your insurance policy that we're all obligated to cooperate with the defense of this case.
So that you want it sent to you and the insurance company?
No, forget the insurance, send it to me. I'm hired by it.
Yes, but you just said that they will want to know too. So
They'll want to know.
should they
If
have a
if I tell them that we don't get cooperation, they're gonna wonder. I want to tell them we'll all
No,
cooperate.
I thought you meant they would want the specifics, okay. All right, so.
so can we see what those give into to you or not? Those four?
You will see the finished product in the form of the preliminary objections. Now, if there's a difference of opinion between what you say happened, what somebody else said happened, I'm gonna have to try to reconcile that difference. I may call you up and ask you.
You may what?
Call you up and ask you about it, or call them up and ask them.
no, like I said in the past, I mean, if you're searching for the truth, it's all on video. Everything is on video that's in this lawsuit.
I respectfully disagree, Mayor Neiman. And again, this is details and strategy, and at the appropriate time, probably we'll have that discussion.
Okay, so you'll both send a detailed letter to Mr. Bouger regarding the lawsuit?
As with these four council, they do it, they were on there, I was there.
Oh, absolutely, everyone that's on the council, with the exception of those that were not.
There are allegations about the March meetings of this year.
Right.
I want those, and that would be you, and that would be Ms. Potter as well. I need those allegations.
Right, for those meetings that.
For what you know about. You want to counsel?
I know, that's what you'll know.
Right.
Anything from 2022. Estimate for controlled demolition of the old town hall?
Can't get one contractor to question whether we own the town hall. So I'm gonna say somebody probably talked to him about that. I think that's attached to the old saga about the wall. Stuckborough didn't own the wall, and now they own it. And I remember Darrell and Mary Ann back a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, when I brought it up that we need to address that hall, because it's a safety issue when I was the mayor. And they brought it up and said they don't know if the borough actually owns that. So I think now what's happening is there's one contract that was possibly notified that maybe questioned that you might not want to come around, struck a broke, but now maybe we don't own it.
It's under our new tax rules.
Strasburg owns the building, Strasburg owns the
So-
building.
Do we have a deed for it? Do we have a
But
deed?
it's a public safety issue, I mean, this building is falling in, and.
There used to be a deed.
Well, if it's on the tax rolls, it should show a deed.
I'm sure it does, and someone could call the tax collector and ask him.
Well, being sure, tax records in a lot of cases are wrong, just as tax maps are wrong.
So let's do this. How about if we have you research it, get a deed for that, see if we have a deed for it?
If you direct, council directs me to do it,
Alright, we spend enough money on his ridiculousness.
Well, what are we gonna do, how are we gonna move forward if these guys are gonna try to hold it up?
It's not that hard to find a deed.
Well, if we get the, from the tax collector, I'll call the tax collector.
Okay, you guys will take care of it.
I'll take care of it.
I've contacted, 3 different contractors and no one has
This is
showed
a
up.
dangerous situation for the borough.
It is.
Deeds, you get any deeds.
Right. Right, and it's simple to do, I just got one for our church. Okay. All right, so we don't, once we establish that we do own the building, perhaps we can move forward, because if building collapses, someone's injured, it's a big problem.
I've mentioned a lot of the borough documents, so. in there.
Right, and we need to, and
Okay,
there are,
what do you-
that's another thing, there's, Jim had mentioned that there's people that work with moldy things and things like that. So to build moldy records and the things that can be preserved, and they should have been removed an eon ago. At any rate,
And, Gail, if I can add,
Surely.
I'm working with a company that does digitizes documents,
Right.
and they're used to working with hazardous materials like that. I will be able to bring more information to the council at the next meeting.
okay, thank you very much. Update on the status of the ordinance book and minutes bound ledgers from past on.
We moved down minute book and an ordinance book, those are purchased and,
This,
I will-
Jim, Ray has done this because the old minute books, the legal minute books are missing in the ordinance book. We don't know where that is either.
those are blank, yes, I just.
Yeah, those are blank. We just
I am going
purchased
to
those
get
so that
this
now
year's
all
minutes
minutes will be
signed
put in
and
there.
attested.
They will be signed, they will have the borough seal. So we have legitimate legal minutes and ordinances. PennDOT Carpenter Roads document review.
Still, Darrell said that there was documentation they had to prove that it was a borough road, and
Oh, so you're asking for the documentation?
so he said he didn't have, he said he had it, now they don't have it. At last month's meeting, I even sent an email out saying, please bring it, and they didn't bring it, so that's where we sit with it. And you said it was in the courthouse, Darrell, so where in the courthouse would you go find that?
Looking at the sanitary's office, looking, under roads there, PennDOT should have a copy.
So what actual documents did you have to move forward to create the road?
There should be a survey of the road by, a licensed surveyor.
So another one of your resolution surveys? Not an actual survey?
Yeah, it's an actual survey, the surveyor come out and physically surveyed the road.
So where was the
Well, then there
point
should
to the outer boundaries of Strucker Borough? What did he actually go off of to create that?
You had to call him Jack, I'm not a surveyor.
So who hired the surveyor back then?
Borough council has majority.
And I'll find it. So if there was a road survey done, then there's documentation.
Yes, there is.
Where is that?
Part of it should be in the borough records. PennDOT will have it, and, the sanitary's office has got a copy of it.
Who filed that at the sanitary's office back
I don't
17?
recall, Jack, this time I went back to the records and looking.
Update on the status of response from Chris Miller to a letter requesting who authorized plowing at the Strucker Baptist Church. That there's
I received nothing,
no
that was
correspondence.
in the correspondence. I believe we covered most of this, but this email came in be taken care of, so Jen will be hearing from me. Committee reports.
Okay, we've had the update on the road, we've already covered this.
Okay.
All right. And under new business, is there any other old business?
I do have one question, actually two questions. Keith, I noticed in the application that you sent to the community, for the community redevelopment grant, that you had the 22 borough budget.
No, I took the borough budget that I believe you left with Darrell.
Okay,
It
so
was
that's
2022 on it and 2021, so I just wanted to be sure that it was.
okay. So I explained to Darrell what that document was. I took the 2021 budget.
Yes.
I made a copy of it. I then updated it for the March 7th and the March 14th meetings. Those meetings didn't happen. That budget was never presented to council. So the 2022 budget
You wrote.
that I wrote was never presented to council. Additionally, the 2022 budget was voted on in November 1st to be advertised, and it was voted on December 6th to be adopted. I have never seen that document. I
So
put
where
that in my list.
did you get the figures for that?
I took the 2021 budget,
Yeah.
and then I rolled them forward, knowing what I knew from January 1st to December, okay? Or January 1st to February, and that's why, you know, the numbers are different. And you will notice that they were colored, and I'm handing
No, I
it.
got a black and white copy.
All right,
I saw
well-
a black and white copy.
Okay, but even the black and white copies that I provided to all the council members before the 7th and before the 14th meetings had highlighted on there what changes I made. This was to be discussed for council because I did not have a budget, and I did not know how I could run the finances of the borough, not knowing how much I was allowed to spend and how much we were spending. And so this is my concern about why I did not file that application, because I can't make a financial statement about the borough to ask for money from the state or the county unless I'm sure that's right. And so I would recommend that you find out where that is.
I'll contact the redevelopment authority and let them know there's probably an issue with that budget submitted. I did not realize that.
Okay.
Yes,
So
because
where is the 2022 budget?
There should be a package in the borough records.
There is not a copy in the borough.
it was never advertised, which legally you have to do.
You had one you passed around, I do believe in November, you passed it around and we only had one copy. I don't know if Kirk brought it or you brought it. Kirk brought it,
Yes, sir.
and it was only one copy, and none of us, we
And-
just got a glimpse at it quick at the meeting, if I do recollect.
If anyone read my letter of resignation on the 15th of March, and if they read the exhibits, you would see that the 2022 budget was called out. You would see what the records were that were on the computer. I went through 3 boxes, 3 years of files, and took photos of every single file. I had Constable Soden witness that, and it was specifically because I was concerned that the files may not be correct or accurate. I was also concerned that we would end up in a situation like this and no one would know where it was, and it would be my responsibility.
So once again, we're back around this thing that last year's council got a meeting. So we're stammered again.
Want to get the stamp out, and the stamp people.
Well, we are once again getting to
Awesome. I'm just gonna pass this out. Sorry, I'm whole business. You guys are going fast, I didn't have a chance. This is a little something I typed up based on the grant application process for the council members to review. Maybe we can discuss this at the next meeting.
Right, so everyone can review it and we'll put this on
Happy
the
to.
agenda for next month. Thank you, Rick. Is there any other old business? We have the update on the roads. Jim has already spoken, and that's been taken care of. Any and all correspondence from Karpovich Law Firm for legal review and to address.
Darrell Haynes.
Yes, I mean, we've never seen a copy of any, a contract or anything else, Carpeters Law Firm he presented.
Yeah, so I got your request, I've started on it, I apologize, I was not able to get it done in the time frame, but I will definitely have that to you as soon as I can get it.
And what's your estimation of time on that?
Considering all the things here for next meeting, hopefully 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
We'll put this on the agenda for next month.
Well, we had it at the January 3rd meeting and voted on this contract then.
Right.
Yeah, the contract's in there, the request was for all the emails.
So, on the question, if Mr. Darrell Haynes wants all the emails with this law firm, why was Mr. Williams, when he had his written request and wanted all the correspondence with Mr. Bouger, not allowed to have that? Because Mr. Bouger said it's his private stuff. He doesn't have to show us emails that council members sent him. And we're not privy to the emails that these gentlemen have sent to Mr. Boucher, but these gentlemen want the emails that anyone may have sent to this other solicitor.
It sounds like Haynes is asking for stuff from the secretary, just like your other right to know request from the secretary. Whatever the secretary has, secretary can turn over. I don't think he's asking for stuff from Karpowitz himself, he's asking him from the secretary. That's it, that's the same thing.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, and actually, I have one other question about that. Doesn't apply to Darrell's request, but rights to know request, we in the past had a specific rights to know officer as the acting, or the assistant secretary, not treasurer, not rights to know officer. Am I required, obligated, is it okay for me to fulfill rights to know requests?
So as a council member, there was a bill presented in the Carpeters Law Firm for new.
You don't count. Like, your request is
The other right to
yours.
know request. And he brings up a good point. You need to appoint a right to know person.
Well, that's,
Wait a minute. In the past, when I was the mayor, I had to have a right to know request, and that even came from you.
You weren't the council.
So the mayor is eliminated from getting borough documents?
The mayor isn't in the same position as a council person.
the
Yeah,
list
so
that
it's a weak mayor council.
Right. Now, you have stated,
No, that's
now,
a tough one.
right, you. That's what I'm trying to do here. Right. Now, the stamp program has, in essence, been approved. You
Well,
are,
that's not
it's
true.
contingent on the amount of money that we would have to,
I understand working it all out.
now,
Go ahead.
are you willing then, if this goes through, to be the secretary treasurer rights to know officer?
I would accept that petition or position contingent on the stamp program being implemented.
That's what I wanted to know.
I feel that's the only way to move things forward.
Right.
And
That's why we need the
proper
program.
manner.
Okay, so then you will in essence be
So,
everything we need.
I think we're gonna do the application and hopefully vote on the actual thing next month, so then maybe next month, I'll continue as the assistant secretary, and next month we'll, revisit that.
Okay, once we know exactly what our financial output is going to be, and then we'll once again have an effective secretary treasurer rights to know officer.
Okay, Ron, I got a question for you. By borough code, the assistant secretary is supposed to be done by resolution. So we appointed him assistant secretary. So should we do a resolution to make sure we're doing it proper with it for Red?
Sure.
Okay. So should we make a motion tonight?
Yeah, to pass
Pass
a
the resolution?
Make a motion to pass a resolution to appoint Ray Woods the second as assistant secretary.
So what do we do about last month that we did? We just,
Make it retroactive.
all right. I'll make a motion then, we make it retroactive to appoint Ray Woods by resolution to be the assistant secretary.
We have a second?
You should say the date it's retroactive to, because of the last meeting. The date that it's
What was the date that you started taking over assistant
August
secretary?
1st.
August
First was, meeting.
Oh, I don't think so. I think it was, because you paid me for 2 other months, I think it was back in May, right? Because Charlie, I was on
Right,
March,
right.
Charlie did April,
And then Charlie was
then
ill.
Charlie had COVID.
Right,
And
so you're going to have to go further,
Yeah, so, you know, I mean,
From May 6th then.
May 6th.
Retroactive to May
Through
6th.
May 6th. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All those in favor? Jen?
Yes.
Kristen, yeah.
Gail, yes.
Art, yes. Donaldin, Junior, yes.
Keith Payne, yes.
Darrell Haynes, yes. Okay, for treasurer, I spoke to Homedale National Bank, and they're going to do the treasurer's part for the borough. And they stated it would be $800 a year. They would sign the checks once the invoices and the motions are presented by the secretary to Homedale National. And they would give a printout each month of the balance, the bills paid and the balance thereafter.
Now, I absolutely disagree with that because I think we need to keep borough business within the borough. We need to move forward. And I do not think that we should hand over anything to the bank, take care of things that should be handled within the borough.
I'll make a motion to do a resolution to hire Homedale National Bank as treasurer for Strasburg Borough pursuant to a contract with my understanding of being $800 a year.
I
I'll second it.
completely against that.
Can I speak on that?
Certainly.
We don't have a contract.
The concern I think we've seen that this year, is that if you don't appoint someone like a bank who has no dog in any fight, the bank is about as above board as they can be, they're,
Absolutely.
okay,
That's the
but
point.
you're not held hostage by an individual who decides, I don't want to be this anymore, I quit. You don't have a secretary, you can't hold a meeting, you don't have a treasurer, you can't pay your bills. You need to have people in place that are going to be reliable. Until you get that, this probably is the next best thing.
I think we just had somebody just said he was willing to do it.
He's willing to do secretary now. But what if he resigns 2 weeks from now?
Well,
You
then-
can't have a meeting.
But we have bills right tonight that need to be paid.
But we don't have a contract from Homestead National Bank that you could show us that lists all their rights and responsibilities, what they're going to do?
I don't,
You just called them and said, you're saying this is gonna cost $800, but we don't know if it really does because we have no paperwork on it.
Which has been a problem for a long time. We need to actual documentation of everything.
okay, so we can have a special meeting, we can get the contract, and have a special meeting in 10 days, and more.
I will tell you this, the National Bank person who's doing it, it's the trust officer, I think he's an officer of the bank, sent me an email today on this. And he says, right now, he needs a resolution. The resolution says you authorize them to do it, and then you approve the contract. So authorize the resolution, it's kind of like what we did with the stamp thing. You make your application, and if you like everything that they say, if you don't like the agreement, you don't have to do it. But at least you get the ball rolling.
So we contacted the bank to begin with. They wouldn't just send you a random email.
We know who contacted.
Yeah, I contacted the bank.
Surprised she answered.
Well, this is for September 6th, which is today. So then you already have this printed out.
I made it because I got the email from the bank. I told you.
So we go to council, the bills come to council, we vote on them, and then we just send the borough minutes a month later, pay bills.
you send the proper authorization to the bank with the bills to be paid, and they will write the checks and send them out.
What's the proper authorization? I mean, what,
I haven't seen the contract yet, but it's likely a simple thing that says a listing of the bills or something.
so,
No.
so by doing this, you know, I think now we're getting off borough code a little bit, kilter,
Borough code
because.
authorizes the bank to act as treasurer.
Yeah. Just hear me through. So we vote on a bill tonight, right? And then our minutes aren't approved, so is the bill list approved a month later that was actually paid?
No, you vote the bill tonight, the bill gets paid.
If
You don't have to approve the minutes to make the bill last, otherwise you have to wait 30 days to pay a bill, that's ridiculous.
What's your opinion?
Okay, so,
Should have brought the council.
What's your opinion on it?
I would think that you'd want to see a copy of the contract.
yeah, why would we vote to enter into a contract we don't even know what it
This is just
entails?
enter into, for a resolution, correct? This motion?
Well,
Why don't you do the resolution?
he has a motion to pass a resolution pursuant to a contract to be, $800. So he does have the word contract in there, so
Okay, so
you may want to revise that.
are we transferring everything to a different bank then? Because this is Holmesdale Bank, we deal with Wayne Bank, correct?
Correct.
Yes. So everything's gonna be transferred over to Holmesdale Bank now?
Right across the road, yes, definitely.
Well,
It's
shouldn't that-
Oh, wait,
It's
hold
a
on.
bit more ludicrous. So you're not dealing with Wayne Bank?
No.
What you're saying is with the bank that this borough used, because you changed from the bank that we had before, back when you were on council.
Why change it?
Yes,
Why change again?
Doesn't Wayne Bank offer the same thing?
No,
hold on. Okay, so I guess I was confused by the motion you made. I was under the impression it was a contract just for them to write the checks for us and act as treasurer. We would still have Wayne Bank?
no,
No.
No, we didn't say that.
No, it'd have to
Okay.
be, everything would have to be transferred to this bank, including all the signatures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Are we the only council that does this?
Yeah, really?
Because this is just blows my mind.
You're probably the only council that has your secretaries and treasurers resign on a regular basis.
Well, we didn't.
Well, we didn't have one for the council members, they wouldn't resign.
Be really careful about saying that. Disparaging employees in front of the public is really inappropriate behavior.
He does that to everybody.
As a matter of fact,
Wait,
you don't say that.
I don't hear what's going on.
All right. I have something that I'm going to say right now. I know for a fact that there was no secretary in 2021 for some time. I want to know who took the minutes in 2021 after Diddy Travis resigned. Who took the minutes? Who wrote the minutes that you have approved? I have copies of the minutes that they were approved. Who wrote the minutes of these meetings?
Well, on a couple of the videos, Keith Payne says he's taking the minutes, but
All right.
it's a video.
Which is legal to have,
Notes or the minutes?
excuse me,
No, you said the word minutes.
who took the minutes at those meetings? You were all there, who took the minutes? Who wrote the minutes out that they were approved? And I have copies of them where they were approved. Who wrote the minutes?
I wrote part of them.
You wrote the minutes?
Keith Payne wrote the minutes, and he also voted.
Excuse me,
Time out. Great, would you read back that motion that's on the floor and seconded?
I answered my question.
There's a
Who
motion-
wrote the
There's a
minutes?
motion on the floor and there's a second.
He's the president. Who wrote the minutes?
There's a motion on the floor and a second.
Why don't you ever answer a question?
Because he's lying.
Would you read
Okay,
back?
so,
All right.
my notes are, because it moved around a little bit. Motion to pass a resolution pursuant to a contract to be $800 for Homesdale National Bank to be treasurer. Or let's say act as treasurer.
So that we have to take a whole,
And
go through a
seconded
whole
by
other
Don
thing, go
Haines.
through all this again. After you just changed things a few months ago.
Brought up when it wasn't brought to the council. Once again, corrupt.
And it probably should be making a motion to amend the agenda, right? You need to amend the agenda because this was not on the agenda.
It's on the agenda for contract.
And Darrell Haynes ain't smart enough to write this thing up. It all came out of Bouget's mouth
Oh,
into
all right.
Darrell's hands.
That's
I
enough.
guess that's.
That's enough.
But damn truth.
Where is it on the agenda?
No, I mean,
Contract for secretary, treasurer, and assistant secretary.
Darrell, in the future, it may be worth you and I chatting about items on the agenda. It's a little unclear to me.
Try to pass it through.
Jim?
Individual council members can submit items to the agenda without going through you?
They're not supposed to, but they don't contact me, so.
Darrell does that all the time.
So they're supposed to go to the council president, and then I submit everything to Ray. But with this, all of this was given to me that Mr. Haynes asked to be on here. This was all given to me as a fait accompli. So, I have, this should have been brought to the council as an idea, not a motion made immediately for a resolution. This should have been brought up to the council that we would have to go to a different bank, and this is what they could do until we have a complete
Yes.
secretary treasurer rights to know officer. So this should have been brought to the council, put on the agenda, and discussed openly, and so that instead of this already been done.
So, we're voting to enter into a contract that we don't know. We don't know the guidelines of how they would pay these bills, what we have to submit in order for the bills to get paid. Does Ray just submit a piece of paper saying, yeah, we voted on this? Because without having approved minutes, there's no verification that those bills were paid. And is this bank going to be taking care of figuring out the payroll deductions for the people on payroll, like the tax collector and the secretary? We have none of that information. And I will tell you right now, even though Mr. Haynes is ignoring me, that without this information about how exactly the bills would be paid, it can't be just Ray writes a note to Homestead Bank saying, yep, these are the bills we voted on. There has to be proof. The proof would be the approved minutes the next month. So unless you know another way, this council has already for years been screwing with the tax collector and his pay for months and months and months. And you know how hard it is to find a tax collector these days? Because you have to be highly qualified. You can't just be voted in. You have to have a certain amount of credits and take classes. And this tax collector has done good for this borough for 11 years. So you're going to make it even more difficult for him to get paid when your previous tax collectors lost bills. Previous before that stole money. Because these are your buddies. You just want us to vote on something when we have no contract.
That's enough. I have one thing to say. As of this moment and this time, I am no longer council president, nor do I wish to be associated with a council that operates in this way. I regret this because I came back on this council after having been off for 21 years to care for my husband. I was council president for many years, and we never had to deal with this lack of transparency, duplicity, and totally dishonest, and this is not the way a borough should operate. And I'm done.
And what Darrell is doing is giving him permission to transfer money illegally through the bank.
Again, not illegally. It's not illegal. That's not illegal. That's not the point. The transparency, the lack of transparency, and what you've done is wrong. This should have been brought to the council and said, because we've had a problem. Charlie Ires, he resigned because he was very ill. He had surgery, he had injury, he was very ill.
I make a motion that we accept former President Redden's resignation as president
Yes.
and council member.
Are you walking out, Gail?
Yes, I am.
Good.
I'll second that.
I'm done. This is absolutely ridiculous. Mr.
Carl, you can call the town now, go.
Gail, take a ball in this vote.
Roll call vote. Motion second, there you go.
Okay, roll call vote. Chad?
Yes.
Kristen, yes? You have to say something. Abstain.
It was, I knew we go behind those, so I abstained.
They're all crooks.
Yes.
It's your, it's Pat, it's your vote.
He doesn't even know what to
We had, I was,
Keith Payne, yes.
Darrell Haynes, yes.
They got what they wanted, Gail.
and I'm sorry, feel I let all of you down.
No, you
I'm
haven't,
sorry.
Gail. No, you
But
haven't. You got
This
public
was the
access.
final straw. This is
The
wrong.
whole community minus 22. We live here, we live in it, and everybody else is helping this
You have a solicitor backing them for.
Exactly.
He's just come up with those for.
No, I won't drive away without you.
Gail, did you abstain?
Yeah. I abstained, yes.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'm removing
We
that.
gotta make a president here so we get.
I'll second that motion.
Gotta have a president, when you guys gotta pick it.
Somebody got to be president.
No, just as president.
Somebody has to be president.
I make a motion to make her own president.
You made the motion.
Any-
Who's the vice president?
She resigned last month.
If you wanna be on council, they need to rescind that and do that
I
again.
believe the council
Yeah, because I would,
can.
well, but tell them they can rescind it. I didn't know this.
That's it.
A bunch of newsboys up here.
We need a.
Bring them the high, big guns.
Yeah, I made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
No,
No, you need to rescind
we
it.
don't need a vote
Kristen.
to adjourn.
Okay.
That's not,
We just talked to council. Point of order is I recommend you guys talk to your solicitor and also check borough code, because now that we've accepted the president's resignation, the clock is ticking for appointment of the next council member to fill her spot. So, the clock is ticking.
She resigned as president, not as councilman. Councilor.
President.
what I said was I resigned as president.
Well, then you don't have to worry about that. Now you have to have a vote.
Thank you for coming.
That was what I said, I resigned as president. And
I
then
misunderstood.
Mr. Haynes said they
So do we have to have a vote for adjournment?
they made a motion to
Yeah.
adjourn.
We didn't was our.
You don't have to.
Because they have already talked to him, this is why he's here. They have settled it.
So I think from a transfer.
We need documentation of all the. No, wait, that's not, got your lies flowing for the paper now, Darrell? You should be ashamed of yourself for both of them. Yeah, you are.
There's only 173 people living in this.
I know, it isn't, and it should not be.
Well, you know that.
So it's not
But it's not, you don't, what you get, it's business, but this is all. The only one that makes it personal is those guys. And see, that's not, and you think that don't live here, don't, no. But you're thinking of it as personal.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You guys are trying to say you're gonna hurt as well.
So, I would say this.
No, you're not ignorant. Jack knows that book. Through and through. He knows what the codes are. He knows what this is. No, this is what I tell you. They also know what the rules are. No. They also know what the rules are, and they just don't care. This is But we have a solicitor for the borough. She was okay. Another 3 years she was on board. Like threatening letters, threatening emails. I mean, you just can't imagine the
We need somebody to stop for town getting.
Because you're on board. It just, yeah, between the wild emails and he wants every day, and he wants to questions about his office, and the emails that he sends me constantly about, I just, now they're gonna kill your ears to be, just now they're gonna kill your ears. No, they wish he was just the council president, that's what's that. That's what's in the minutes. And that's all it was, it was just council president. I'm very sad. I know, I do too now, but I just, this is so